During the new holiday, the cake shop received an order. The photo the customer sent, labeled 1-year anniversary with my girlfriend, turned out to be my wife of 7 years. Just as I handed him the cake, his phone rang. "Honey, I'll see you after work, or our date is off." Wasn't that my wife's voice? Before the new holiday, the cake shop took its last order. I need a realistic portrait drawn on the cake. Based on this photo, she's always been spoiled. If it's not accurate, she'll definitely get mad at me, and I'll have to pacify her for ages. The young man in front of me chattered on for a while, but I was just staring blankly at the photo he sent. The thing was, the photo of his girlfriend, sent by the customer, was identical to Grace, my wife of 7 years. I zoomed in and examined the photo closely several times, afraid I was mistaken, but the small mole on her chin was an unmistakable reminder. This was Grace. Before I could fully compose myself, the young man sent several more photos. Is one photo not enough for reference? I'll send you a few more. He seemed intent on seizing every moment to show off their affection, displaying their sweet happiness to outsiders. Can the cake be ready today? I booked a romantic hotel for tonight. I should make it on time, right? She supports him financially because he's a student, even giving him $20,000. The screen was full of their photos together. In the pictures, they embraced intimately, smiling sweetly. I looked at the young man in front of me. He looked like he was still in college, very young. Is this really your girlfriend? Are you sure you didn't send the wrong photo? The young man gave me an annoyed look and said impatiently, "Even if my girlfriend is beautiful, you shouldn't say that. Cher's a lawyer, and Cher's incredibly capable. She's also very good to me. This year, she said she isn't going home. Cher's spending the new holiday with me." Hearing that, I breathed a sigh of relief. Grace had already told me that I should pick her up from the law firm after work, and she would come back with me to my parents' place. Perhaps the two women just looked alike, and it was a coincidence they were both lawyers. It's a big world, full of strange things. I frowned, reluctantly convincing myself not to doubt Grace, and quickly finished the cake. But just as I handed the cake to the customer, his phone suddenly rang, and Grace's voice came through. "Honey, I am getting off work soon. If I don't see you, tonight's date is off. I'll be right there. I even brought you a small gift." I froze in place. After hearing that voice for over 10 years, there was no way I could be mistaken. Just as I was about to grab the young man and ask for clarification, he had already walked out the door with the cake. I wiped my hands, picked up my phone, the confusion in my heart almost overflowing. Just as I was about to call Grace, the screen lit up. She was calling me. I hesitated for a moment and answered the phone. The same voice as before came from the other end of the line, but the content was completely opposite. "Honey, I just took on a case that's extremely difficult. It seems I won't be able to come home with you this year." I stared blankly at the screen. How could it be such a coincidence? The customer's girlfriend was going to spend the new holiday with him, and Grace also happened to be unable to return to my hometown due to something. The truth was already staring me in the face. Should I still deceive myself? Grace finished speaking, and after a long pause without a reply from me, she tentatively asked, "Michael, are you listening?" I forced a smile, trying to ease my stiff face. "Why are you suddenly not coming home?" Grace sighed, complaining to me in her usual tone. "I don't want to work overtime either, but there's just too much going on at the law firm, and I am at a critical point for promotion right now. Honey, you can understand, right?" Since she put it that way, what reason did I have to refuse? In that moment, I really wanted to confront her, regardless of the consequences, but seeing her act completely normal, a sense of powerlessness welled up inside me. Clenching my phone, I tried to calm myself down. "Will you be too lonely spending the new holiday alone at home tonight? Do you want to go to a hotel?" There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by Grace's slightly raised voice. "What hotel? If I were going out, I'd be going to a restaurant with my friends." Grace didn't know that her voice always tightens, and gets louder than usual when she's feeling guilty. After being together for nearly 10 years, I knew immediately if she was lying. A bitter taste spread on my tongue, but I pretended as if nothing was wrong, saying calmly, "A restaurant." I misspoke. "Oh, and Lily has a bit of a cold these past 2 days. Could you make a video call to her when you get home tonight? She misses you a lot at her grandmother's house. Grace paused, then readily agreed. It was as if my suspicions were all just misunderstandings. I admit, I did this because I wanted to see if Grace would choose that young man or her family. I suddenly remembered a case she had gossiped about before, where a woman's affair also ended up in court. What was her comment back then? So foolish. I thought she meant it was foolish to throw away a marriage for the thrill of an affair. Now, it seemed she thought the woman was simply incompetent at having an affair, which was why she got caught red-handed. She certainly had the audacity to mock others. For so many years, I had never doubted her feelings for me. Grace and I had been together since high school. We went from high school sweethearts to husband and wife and had a 5-year-old daughter. We were a happy family in everyone's eyes. I knew Grace was beautiful, and even when she was with me, there was no shortage of admirers, but she had always refused them decisively, openly stating that she was in a relationship. She let me look at her phone anytime, and our wedding photo was on her desk. She never hid her married status. For a moment, I even thought I had misunderstood, but the photos together that the customer sent glaringly told me that Grace had indeed betrayed me. I took a deep breath and switched to Grace's chat interface. Last night, she was still texting me, saying she missed me. In the morning, she didn't forget to remind me to wear more clothes, watch out for colds, and remember to teach our daughter English. She was meticulous in her care, like the best wife and mother in the world. But who would have thought that such a good wife, such a good mother, had been cheating on me for a year? My head was spinning a little. I opened my text messages, found the customer I had just added, and with trembling hands, clicked on his profile picture. His profile stated, Ethan, 21 years old, a junior in college. His profile picture was of himself, a typical college student's appearance, with a hint of shyness, exactly Grace's type. His social media profile background was a photo of them together. The necklace around Grace's neck in the picture was a custom piece I bought for her abroad during our honeymoon. I took a deep breath and scrolled through his social media posts. Post after post, most were photos of them together. There were photos, there were videos. Grace was sitting in his lap, her clothes disheveled, their expressions intimate. Anyone would say they were the most intimate couple. The most recent social media post read, Honey is spending the new holiday with me this year. It's our 1-year anniversary, and I hope he by my side every year. In the photo, their hands were clasped tightly. The ring on Grace's hand had long since been removed, replaced by matching couple rings with Ethan. The last glimmer of hope in my heart vanished, replaced by rage. I had been understanding of Grace's busy schedule at the law firm, so whenever she said she had to work late and couldn't come home, I didn't suspect a thing. I even felt bad for her being so busy, so I would transfer a few $1,000s to her each time, telling her to eat well and take care of herself. But I never imagined that her busy cases were actually her having an affair with someone else. All that money, I am afraid Grace used it to support a lover, spending it on getting a hotel room, right? I found my own blindness laughable, and our decade-long relationship pathetic. Ethan was still talking about how happy and sweet he and Grace were. But I couldn't help but interrupt him, making an excuse that I had something to do and told him to discuss the details with the assistant. I knew he might also be a victim, but I really wasn't in the mood to continue talking to him. Those photos felt like repeated slaps to my face. I sat in the shop in a daze for a while, then picked up my car keys and left. I wanted to see it with my own eyes, to completely give up hope. My car was parked outside the law firm. I looked at the familiar entrance, a heavy weight pressing on my heart. Ever since Grace passed the bar and joined this law firm, I had driven her to work, come rain or shine, for 7 years. In the beginning, we had just graduated, and didn't have much money. I gritted my teeth and scraped $2,000 from my intern salary to buy a used e-bike. Every morning, I would ride that worn-out e-bike all the way to drop her off at work. The people at the law firm were snobbish, and seeing me drop her off on an e-bike, they mocked me relentlessly. I felt like I was embarrassing Grace, and was about to offer to pay for her to take a cab to work from then on. But she stopped me. What's wrong with an e-bike? I wouldn't be embarrassed even if you dropped me off on a shared bike. After she said that, we both laughed. Later, as soon as I saved up a bit of money, I bought a car as a birthday gift for Grace. The day she received the gift, she hugged me and cried silently for a long time. I thought, after all we had been through together, nothing could ever separate us. But I never imagined that our seemingly stable happiness had, at some unknown point, become riddled with cracks. A few minutes later, a cab pulled up in front of the law firm. I watched Ethan get out of the cab, holding the cake. He raised his hand to make a call, and less than 5 minutes later, Grace hurried out. She looked at the cake with delight, clinging to Ethan's arm and playfully teasing him. Like a girl deeply in love, Ethan put his arm around her waist and pressed a kiss on her forehead. The two talked intimately for quite a while. I looked at Grace's coat and scarf. She had clearly dressed up, thinking about that phone call. What more was there for me to understand? She never intended to come home with me. She had already planned to spend New Year's Eve with Ethan. The sudden case was just a means to make her lie more convincing. My phone vibrated. My mom texted me, asking what time Grace and I would be home. I closed my eyes, suppressing the emotions churning within me. Don't wait up, she's not coming back. And from now on, she wouldn't be coming back either. I drove home alone. As soon as I arrived that evening, my daughter rushed up, looking for her mom. Looking at her innocent little face, I felt a pang of sadness. If and Daddy separate, will you stay with Daddy or Mommy? On the drive home, I had already made up my mind to divorce Grace. However beautiful our marriage once was, the moment the lies were exposed, it became equally ugly. I couldn't entrust my child to such a woman. My daughter tilted her head, not understanding my words, but my mom, Susan, who was passing by, heard everything. She picked up our daughter and snapped impatiently, "What are you telling the child? Grace is so busy, can't you be more understanding of her?" Susan had always treated Grace like her own daughter. Seeing that Grace wasn't coming home this year, she had lectured me relentlessly, and urged me to call her. My daughter was also waiting anxiously by my side. Suppressing my overwhelming emotions, I dialed the video call. I thought Grace would make an excuse not to answer, just like before. But to my surprise, after a few seconds of ringing, she actually picked up. I was stunned when I saw the background. She was actually at home tonight. I had distinctly seen her leave the law firm with Ethan earlier. Could it be that she remembered she had a child, and didn't go to the romantic hotel with Ethan? I remained silent, watching her smile and talk to our daughter, with Susan and David occasionally interjecting. The family looked as harmonious as ever, with not a hint of discord. Seeing that I wasn't saying much, Grace looked at me worriedly. "Michael, are you not feeling well? You don't look so good." The concern on her face didn't seem fake, but seeing it only made me sick to my stomach, a bit car sick. Hearing this, she quickly gave me some advice and told me to go lie down. Just as I was about to get up, I suddenly heard the sound of something heavy falling on the other end of the phone. Grace's expression froze. Then she said, feigning nonchalance, "My friend went home for the new holiday, so I am watching her cat for a few days. I'll go see if it knocked over another cup." She got up and quickly ended the video call. Her movements were swift, but a fleeting hickey on her body still caught my eye. I opened my food delivery app and found a new message. It was a 5-star review left by Ethan half an hour ago. The cake was delicious, and my girlfriend loved it. I just accidentally made a mess at her place. He included a few photos. In the corner of one photo, I could make out condom wrappers in the trash can. My chest ached with anger. So, she hadn't just avoided a hotel to mess around. She had brought him directly home. Thinking about how many times Grace had brought him home over the past year, how many times they had been intimate in my bed, I felt so disgusted I wanted to vomit. Seeing how pale I was, Susan quickly asked what was wrong. I waved her off, swallowing all the bitterness. Susan wasn't well, and I was afraid she wouldn't be able to handle hearing about Grace's affair. I walked to the balcony, about to call Grace directly to confront her, when something suddenly occurred to me. I opened my back-end photos and magnified the pictures Ethan had just sent, examining them closely again and again. In the corner of one of the photos he had just sent was our wedding photo, hanging in my living room. So, he knew Grace was a married woman. I found Ethan and sent him a message. "Are you free? Let's meet. I am Grace's husband, her legal husband of 7 years. An hour later, Ethan finally replied to my message. The moment I saw his message, my blood rushed to my head. "I thought you'd come looking for me this morning. I can't believe you waited this long." Ethan casually tossed out a sentence that utterly floored me, making me nearly lose my balance. I had thought he was innocent, deceived by Grace, but no, he had deliberately come to provoke me. Then again, How clean could someone be who would get involved with a married woman? Ethan, arrogant, continued, since you already know everything, I won't hide it anymore. I am at your place right now. Grace just fell asleep. You should take the initiative and get a divorce. Grace doesn't love you anymore. I had decided to divorce, but I wouldn't let it be that simple. If loves you, why are you the one coming to confront me, and not her? Shez kept me completely in the dark this past year, terrified I'd find out about you. If she truly loved you, why would she let you be the mistress for so long? Ethan got agitated. Who are you calling the mistress? The one who isn't loved is the mistress. I ignored his nonsense and spoke directly. Then tell her to come tell me to divorce in person. Silence fell on his end, and it was a while before he replied, no matter what, I am not backing out. Tell me, what do you want to divorce her? I gave a sarcastic laugh. It seemed I was right. The reason I hadn't discovered Grace's affair this past year was partly because I had always trusted her completely, and partly because she was very good at hiding it. If hadn't been unable to hold it in, and come to me himself, I might never have found out. This also showed that she had never intended to confront me and elevate Ethan, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. The moment I discovered Ethan was in my house, I genuinely wanted to drive home and throw the divorce papers in Grace's face, but when I saw our daughter, I immediately calmed down. My calm wasn't about pretending nothing had happened and continuing my life with Grace. It was about getting a clean divorce and taking our daughter away from this home. Grace was a lawyer. It wouldn't be easy to get custody from her. Fortunately, Ethan had voluntarily presented himself. I slowly typed, it's not impossible for me to file for divorce proactively, but you need to help me gain custody, or there's no deal. The few clues I had weren't enough to definitively prove Grace's affair, but with Ethan's cooperation, it would be different. Sure enough, Ethan didn't hesitate for long before agreeing to the deal. Finally, still unsure, he pressed, you won't feel regret about Grace and change your mind later, will you? I decisively replied with 2 words, no. Once a chitter, always a chitter. Those words sounded harsh to Ethan. After all, he was the mistress, a product of marital infidelity himself. He couldn't help but retort, she and I are different from you, too. We got together because of love. I really wanted to tell him that Grace and I had also gotten together because of love, but what happened later? She still betrayed me. For a moment, I wanted to tell Ethan about the things Grace and I went through back then, when we were madly in love. We also felt indispensable to each other and firmly believed we would grow old together, but in the end, we couldn't resist the 7-year itch. Ultimately, I didn't say much more. Grace's heartlessness would make him see everything clearly. I stayed in my hometown until the 3rd day of the new holiday. Over those 3 days, Grace would video call me every day, and in the video, she seemed completely normal. She even remembered to ask if my car sickness had improved. Honey, I haven't seen you in 2 days, and I really miss you. She held her phone and acted playfully with me, just like before. I looked at the divorce papers I had prepared beside me and said calmly, since you miss me so much, maybe I'll go back a few days early. Hearing that, the smile on Grace's face stiffened a little. She averted her gaze, then forced a laugh. You finally made it home. Spend more time with your parents. Plus, Lily likes playing in my hometown. Let her enjoy the holiday for a few more days. I'll be fine alone at home. You don't always have to worry about me. Everything she said indicated she was afraid of me coming back early. I hid the mockery in my eyes and agreed. I wasn't ready for the divorce yet. How could I go back so quickly? After received my assurance, he didn't deliberately make noise during the video call like last time, but as soon as the call ended, he sent me a message. He described how he and Grace had been intimate in my house during those 3 days, while saving all the hotel room records and money transfer notifications and chats he sent me. I packed my things and drove home. My departure was sudden. Susan thought I was going out for drinks with friends. She didn't know that I immediately got on the highway. Seeing that I was about 15 minutes from home, I called 911. I think my house has been broken into. When the police burst in, Grace and Ethan were rushing out of the bedroom, disheveled. This is the thief. Looking at Ethan, the police officer's expression was odd. Grace was both angry and anxious, quickly explaining to everyone, this is my boyfriend, did you get the wrong address? Someone glanced at the wedding photo hanging in the living room, their expression somewhat sarcastic. Boyfriend. Then who's the person in that photo? A flicker of embarrassment crossed Grace's face. She walked over, trying to push them out. This has nothing to do with you, does it? Who called 911? You've got the wrong house number. I called 911. I stepped out from behind the crowd, watching the color drain from Grace's face. Weren't you still in your hometown? Why are you suddenly back? Michael, listen to me. She stammered, taking a few steps forward. Reaching to grab my sleeve to explain herself, I mercilessly shook off her hand, a mocking expression on my face. Didn't you say your friend had left a cat with you? I came back to check on the cat, her lie exposed right to her face. Grace's cheeks flushed crimson. Unable to utter another word, I apologized to the police officers, confirmed that the evidence of the affair had been fully recorded by their bodycam, and then saw them off. Turning back, Grace stood by the door, waiting for me, her eyes brimming with tears. Ethan, having just dressed, was holding a tissue to wipe her tears, but she pushed his hand away, seeming so eager to distance herself from him. Ethan glared at me, his expression full of resentment. Meeting my gaze, Grace quickly explained, Michael, being with him was just an accident. I never meant to betray you, really. Listening to her incoherent explanation, I almost laughed in anger. An accident? An accident that lasted a year. Grace, did you have a happy one-year anniversary? Upon hearing the words one-year anniversary, Grace understood everything. She turned and without hesitation, slapped Ethan. You went to see my honey. Who told you to go to him? Ethan, clutching his face, looked incredulous. Hitting me for him. Didn't you say you loved me the most? Grace, however, didn't even look at him. She only looked at me, explaining in a low voice. I was just saying whatever, teasing him. I looked at Grace, flustered and at a loss, and handed her the divorce papers I had carried all the way. You've told too many lies. I don't even know if I should believe you. Grace, let's get a divorce. Grace's face instantly went pale. Glancing at the chaotic mess inside the house, I lost all interest in staying there and turned to leave. Grace tried to follow me out, but Ethan pulled her back. It's so cold outside, what if you catch a cold? Even after being slapped, he still wasn't thinking clearly. Grace stopped, dissuaded by his words. As I went downstairs, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I glanced at it. The countless incoming calls were all from the same person. I found it somewhat amusing. What could Grace possibly want to say? It would just be the same few phrases, asking for my forgiveness, and so on. The betrayal of trust in a relationship couldn't be mended by any number of promises. Grace didn't know that during my days in my hometown, I had scrolled through Ethan's social media posts again and again. Each time felt like reopening a freshly healed wound with a knife. Looking at the familiar dates, memories surfaced in my mind little by little. The day she said she was on a business trip to a nearby city, she was actually with Ethan, who was on holiday, vacationing on a resort island. The two passionately embraced in the dim lights of a romantic hotel, making promises via wishing well. On my birthday, she claimed to be working late at the law firm, but in reality, Ethan was jealous and dragged her to a bar for an all-night party. When's meticulously woven lies were exposed, the last shred of lingering affection in my heart disappeared. I really wanted to ask her, was it so hard to be faithful to our marriage? While she was having her affair, did she feel even a hint of guilt towards me and our daughter? I drove aimlessly through the streets, suddenly not knowing where to go. The car window was down, and the winter wind cut across my face like a knife. As I drove, I looked up, and realized I had reached the waterfront. Gazing at the familiar nightscape, a wave of emotion washed over me. When and I were in college, we didn't have much money. Other couples went on dates to coffee shops or amusement parks. She and I could only hold hands, and walk back and forth along the waterfront, again and again. Back then, she pointed to the skyscrapers on the other side of the river, pulling me along, and solemnly promised that we would work hard together to make a home there. Later, we finally saved enough money and bought our dream Riverview apartment, but that place was no longer a home. I found a random hotel and slept there for a few days, all while looking for a lawyer to prepare for divorce. No matter what, I had to get custody of my daughter. Just as I was overwhelmed with business, the hospital called, notifying me to pay the fees. Only then did I remember that Grace's father's medical fees were due. I rushed to the hospital, only to see someone I didn't expect. In the hospital room, Ethan sat by the bed, holding a bowl of chicken broth, about to feed it to Henry. "Uncle, I specially made this for you. It took me hours. Please try it." I glanced outside the door. A takeout container had just been opened. So, Head ordered takeout, and pretended Head made it himself, just to impress an elder. Henry wasn't having it and pushed the bowl away. "Don't try to look good in front of me. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? Destroying someone's family, have you no shame?" He used a bit too much force, and the broth spilled from the bowl, immediately reddening Ethan's hand. Grace frowned and quickly poured mineral water to rinse his scalded hand. "Dad, just talk. Don't resort to violence." Henry's eyes widened, and he snapped impatiently, "I think you've been completely blinded by this man. Tell me, how has Michael ever wronged you? All these years, I've been ill and you've been busy, but hasn't Michael been taking care of me? They say a long illness produces no filial son, but look at what Michael has done. Daughter, tell me, aren't the things you've done utterly heartless?" Under the relentless barrage of scolding from her own father, Grace's face turned pale, a flicker of guilt in her eyes. She was about to say something when she suddenly saw me standing outside the door. Grace froze for a moment, her first instinct to shield Ethan, but the next instant, she realized the absurdity of her actions, and, with a pale face, tried to explain to me. "I got a call from the hospital, and he insisted on coming with me," I said indifferently. "What does that have to do with me?" "Uncle, are you feeling better lately? I just asked the doctor, and he said your recovery after this surgery has been very good." Hearing me address him as uncle, Henry's expression darkened. He let out a long sigh and patted my hand. "Our family has wronged you, Michael. If you want a divorce, I support you." At that, a flicker of joy crossed Ethan's face, but Grace stood up. "Dad, what are you talking about? Divorce? I don't agree." Henry's chest heaved, and he angrily pointed at her. "You've done something like this. What right do you have to disagree? How could I have given birth to such a shameless daughter like you? Get out, and take this mistress with you." He immediately grabbed the chicken broth nearby and hurled it at Grace. Grace shrieked, snatching it away, but still got soaked on one side. I quickly stepped forward to calm the elderly man, speaking soothing words for a long time until his blood pressure dropped. As soon as I stepped out, I saw Grace hiding in the stairwell. Seeing me look over, a plea for help appeared in her eyes. "Michael, Lily is here. She can't see me like this." I frowned, and glanced down the hallway. Our daughter was playing with a Rubik's Cube with Susan. If saw Grace like this, how would I explain it to her? Her mother had always been a towering figure in her mind. She had known since childhood that her mother was a lawyer, defending the weak and upholding justice. Was I really going to reveal Grace's affair in front of her? I sighed, turned, and walked towards my daughter, picking her up, and intending to enter the hospital room, but unexpectedly, just as I stepped through the hospital room door, she turned around and saw Grace. "Mommy, why is Mommy here?" Called out by the child. Grace's face was flushed with embarrassment, and she looked utterly disheveled. I found an excuse to cover for Grace and handed our daughter over to Susan, who looked puzzled. Unexpectedly, this action led Grace to misunderstand. With red eyes, she blocked me on the rooftop. "Michael, even for our child's sake, can we not get a divorce? I swear, from now on, I will never have any contact with Ethan again, or anyone else." I gave a bitter laugh and asked her, "Grace, what do I have left to trust you with? You could betray 10 years of a relationship. How can I ever trust you again? No divorce, then what? Every time you work overtime, I'll wonder if he with another man. Every time you go out, I'll wonder which man you're meeting." I suppressed the emotions in my heart, and looked at Grace. "The trust between us has long been destroyed by you. How can over 10 years of trust be rebuilt?" Grace's lips trembled, as if she had suddenly lost all her strength. I turned to leave, only saying as I passed her, "Sign the divorce papers soon." After I returned home, I found an opportunity to tell Susan about the matter. Hearing about Grace's affair, she refused to believe it. It wasn't until I laid the collected evidence before her that she finally believed me. Everyone in the family supported my decision to divorce. Our daughter had been with me since she was little and was closer to me. Grace did try to fight for custody, but since she was the one who cheated first, she couldn't win against me. Aside from our child, she was quite generous with the property. She gave me the car and the house, leaving with nothing but her personal belongings. The only thing she wanted to take was the car I had given her years ago. After years of working, we had long since traded up to a BMW or Audi. That old car had been sitting in the garage, unused, for a long time. When she mentioned it, I even felt a momentary daze. But what good was regret now? Everything was irreversible. To my surprise, Grace actually sued Ethan, demanding he repay all the money transferred during their relationship. It was then that Ethan finally saw Grace's true colors. Grace was a lawyer, perfectly familiar with legal provisions. Her relationship with Ethan had always been casual, but when Ethan brought the affair to my attention, pushing her towards divorce, she unleashed all her anger onto him. During their affair, she had always been very calculating, avoiding special holidays for every transfer and using vague wording. Ethan was unsuspecting, taking it all as Grace's love for him, and accepting the money happily. He was stunned when he saw the statement, realizing it amounted to $160,000. He had spent money lavishly, but when it came to repayment, he couldn't produce a single penny. The two immediately started arguing in court, and the incident even made a small splash in the local news. A neighbor saw me and came over to gossip. That woman is truly ruthless. I heard she even included hotel room fees and coffee money. I didn't say anything. After more than 10 years together, I had long understood Grace's nature. Love someone to wish them life, hate someone to wish them death. She hated Ethan for destroying her marriage, so naturally, she would go for the kill. But didn't she also bear a share of the blame for destroying the marriage? Stepping out of the county clerk's office, I looked at the divorce certificate in my hand, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. This divorce battle had been draining and exhausting, but thankfully, I had achieved my goal. Grace stood at the entrance, a hint of bitterness in her gaze, as she looked at me. Michael, I remember 7 years ago, we also got our marriage certificate at this very county clerk's office. I turned my face away and didn't reply. Grace seemed lost in her memories and continued, back then, I even told you that when we reached our 10th, 20th, and 30th anniversaries, we should come back and visit this place. As she spoke, her voice suddenly choked up. But how did I not even make it to the first 10 years? Michael. Grace stepped forward, as if she had something to tell me. But just as she took a step, a figure rushed out from the corner. Liar, you never loved me at all. If you don't want me to live well, then you shouldn't live either. Warm blood splattered on the ground. Amidst the gasps of the onlookers, I quickly stepped forward and pulled Ethan away. Someone frantically dialed for an ambulance, but by the time it arrived, Grace had already stopped breathing. Before she died, she kept looking at me, but the words she wanted to say never came out. When was pinned to the ground, he was laughing and crying, as if he had gone mad. A wave of emotion washed over me. Did ever think of this day when she drove him to the brink? The sirens wailed into the distance. I looked at the evening glow in the sky, shook my head, and started the car. School was letting out. I needed to go pick up Lily and take her home.